upstairs. If you want to make your way down, please, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Lisa. How are you? As we're waiting on everyone to come downstairs, welcome everybody. Welcome to the February Texas Normal meeting. How many of you, this is your first meeting with us? Raise your hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so very, very much. That's amazing. A lot of first timers, a lot of first timers. Raise your hand if you are a Texas Normal member. All right, all right. There are more first timers here than we have members. That's amazing. Once again, give everybody a round of applause. First timers, give yourselves a round of applause. That's amazing. All right, and if you are a Texas Normal board member, and that includes directors, officers, advisors, if you are a part of the Texas Normal board, please raise your hand. Everybody? All right, everybody who raised your hand earlier saying that you were the first timer, look around you and see whose hand is raised right now. If you have any questions about how you can get involved, how you can help, then please come talk to one of these people. We would gladly talk to you and help you out with that. All right, all right. I also do want to thank, before I get into this, the Flamingo Cantina and Angela Tharp for having us so very, very graciously for all these many years. Thank you so very, very much. We love you. Today's an exciting day, mainly because tomorrow is an exciting day. Who knows what's going on tomorrow? Yeah? Most everybody here. And what's going on tomorrow is pretty much all we're talking about tonight. Tomorrow is our lobby day. It's very, very important, our constituent lobby day. It's put on by a number of organizations. Texas Normal has partnered with several organizations in the coalitions. And we're going to mob up to the Capitol tomorrow, about 400 people. We're going to talk to the legislators. If you did not know about that, what are you doing? We'll see you tomorrow morning. It's going to be awesome. All right, all right. We have some great speakers tonight. Our speakers are all from out of town. They have come from all over the state to participate in Lobby Day tomorrow. And they're going to tell you why they are coming to participate in Lobby Day tomorrow. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about the fact that there's been an unprecedented amount of bills filed relating to cannabis. Anybody know how many? 27! 27! That is historic. And each and every one of you are a part of it. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. So obviously I'm not going to go over all 27. But I am going to bring up our great executive director, Jax Finkel, and she's going to go over a few of the ones that we're really, really focusing on right now. And then we will let you know how you can look up the other, however many there are.
27. A twin. All right, so we have a lot of people in from out of town. If you are from Houston, let me hear you. Hey, hometown Houston. I think we have some El Paso people. Where are you at? El Paso. Anybody here from San Antonio? Dallas? What? All right. I'm loving it, you guys. Oh, we got Buffalo, New York in the house. All right, guys. So I appreciate all of y'all coming out and joining us tonight before the big lobby day. I am going to go over expectations for lobby day later. What I'm going to touch on right now are our priority legislation pieces that I think are of most note. As mentioned, there are 27, so if you would like to read all of them and find all of the links to the text, you can go to texasnormal.org/86legislature. So, the first two are HB 63 and its companion bill, SB 156. And what this would do is it would take an ounce or less of marijuana and it would turn it into a $250 fine. So it would remove all criminal collateral consequences that come with possession, which, as I'm sure everybody knows, in Texas, possession of flower is a Class B misdemeanor, which means up to 180 days in jail, $2,000 fine, and a lifelong criminal record that will affect grants, etc. So that is a big deal. There is a lot of traction behind that bill. It had over 40 sponsors in the House last time, so that's a really big deal. And in addition to that, the author of the House bill, Joe Moody, has been named the Speaker pro tempore. So he's kind of a big deal, and he's amazing. If you haven't looked up Joe Moody, you should definitely look him up. So we're looking really good on those. Committees have been assigned, and in both the House and the Senate, there are some favorable people on the committees for us. So we have a lot of work to do, but if we work hard, we can definitely have some optimism about making some movements there. There's also another bill that was recently filed that has to do with decriminalization. And I like this bill because it addresses many different levels. So the first thing, and I'm sorry, let me tell you the number of it. 1206. SB 460. So basically it would take 2 ounces or less and just remove it from the penal code. So there would be no anything for 2 ounces or less. Guys, it's great. And then it also de-escalates all of the penalties from 2,000 pounds and down in the criminal scale. So everything would be ratcheted down a degree along the way as well. So that's a big deal and a big change here in Texas. I'll take some questions in a minute. And then also we have some medical cannabis bills. So there's quite a few bills. Some of them do more than others. Some of them are very simplistic. The 2 main bills that we're interested in is HB 1365 and SB 90. They are somewhat companion bills, a few differences between them, but they would make medical marijuana available for patients with multitude of conditions. There's a list of about 20 plus. Some of them are specific conditions, some of them are more overarching conditions, and it would also remove the THC cap. As you guys may know, here in Texas, we have low THC oil available only for people with intractable epilepsy. It would also allow for third-party testing, which is super important when people are using cannabis as medicine. And in addition to that, it would make, it gives additional parent protections. So one of the reasons that it took Lucio a little bit longer to get his bill filed this time was he was trying to make sure that the parent protections were properly codified, so that both parents who medicate their children with cannabis and parents who are medical marijuana users themselves don't have issues. So that's really important. There's also a few hemp bills, 4, I believe. There's companion bills in the House and the Senate that are just for a research program, which is great, but we can do better. And there are some other bills that would address actual retail hemp, industrial hemp being grown by our agricultural community. There's 2 of those, and I personally prefer one over the other, and it's because one bill does not make you destroy your plant if it has slightly more THC than 0.3, and one bill does make you do that. So my preferred bill is HB 1325 on that one. And if you go to our website, we'll have all of the priorities listed first, along with the action alerts afterwards, and then we'll have every single bill that wasn't at the top in grouped by topic. Okay? All right, so I'll be back up here to talk about Lobby Day, you guys, and I'll come and answer your question in just a sec.
All right.
Thank you, Jackson. Appreciate it.
Publicly, though.
Yeah, she'll get with you.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the meeting.
All right, so I'm not going to bore you with anything that I have to say because we have some amazing speakers who have come from out of town to tell you why they're going to be at our lobby tomorrow. First is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. His name is Austin Zamhariri. Did I say that right? Yeah! He is a very, very, very dedicated activist. He runs a media outlet called the Texas Cannabis Collective. He also assists in managing a veteran-owned cannabis farm called Blue Cord Farms. He's an amazing activist. I'm proud to serve with him, and I'm going to hand the mic over to him now.
Thank you so much to the Austin community in Texas Novus. Is really an honor for me. So again, my name is Austin Zamhariri. I just want to tell you my story. It all started back in 2016. Me and the love of my life, Sarah, we were in Colorado, outside of the Colorado Springs area, on a mountain, on Cheyenne Mountain. And so we were having that conversation, like, oh, you're 30 years old, like, what do you want to do with your life? you don't want to be waiting tables forever, all that kind of business. And so when we were coming down Cheyenne Mountain, that was my epiphany. We were in Colorado to check out the legalization movement and the industry there, and man, I loved it. This is what I wanted to do. Man, I want to be in the marijuana industry, and I want to help people, and I want to, talk about it all day, every day, and I want to stand behind a counter and recommend this strain for this purpose. That's what I wanted to do. But I live in Texas. Still with it.
It's coming.
And that was part of the realization that I couldn't just uproot. I have children. Can't uproot my children out of the DFW area to move to Colorado to live that dream. So if I really want to live that dream, I got to do it in Texas. And so the first thing I did when I got back, it was in March of 2016. I buried myself in education. I started reading everything I could, learning about the Texas Compassionate Use Program, learning about all the legislators who had been instrumental in passing the Texas Compassionate Use Act. I learned about, kind of the general reform movement, learning about Texas NORML all the way back into the 70s, and learning about all the key players. I started figuring out who the key players in the movement were. I learned about Heather Fazio, I learned about Jack Finkel, I learned about Colter Morris. I learned about a lot of people who had come at that time in 2016 and had really brought this issue to the forefront. And so my next step was jumping in. I jumped in. I decided to go to every normal meeting I could. I showed up to every cannabis-related event I could. I prepared. I started talking to my representatives, Stephanie Click, Kelly Hancock, and by the time the session in 2017 hit, I jumped in. I showed up at the Capitol all the time. Citizen Lobby Day was a must-do. I was willing to sacrifice the time. I came down here as much as I could to try to make an impact. I got involved. I made my mark. And so really, all I really want to lay out to you is I'm just a guy. I got children like you guys do. I eat pizza like you do. I watch Dallas Cowboy football like you guys do. And so I just know that I look at each and every individual in this room, and I know that if I can do it, I know everybody here is capable of not only getting educated, showing up, and making an impact, but changing the course of history, which is what we're going to do tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, thank you very much.
We love you, Austin.
Our next speaker is, we do love you, Austin. Thank you very much.
And Sarah, we do love Sarah.
Our next speaker is another very dedicated activist from the DFW area. He comes in a little bit farther. He comes in from Denton. This is a man who has a very, very, very touching story. He's a father, he's a grandfather, and he's here to tell you about his son. His son is the reason that he's going to be here this weekend, or this week rather. He was here today, meeting with his rep, and he's going to be at Lobby Day tomorrow. Chris Garzolia, please come tell your story.
There you go. For those of y'all that don't know, I have a Facebook page called Something Has to Change Now.
Tell the story.
Right now.
Because basically something really does have to change now. The best way I know in talking with Dave on how to tell my story and tell why I'm doing what I'm doing and what it means to me, I guess, would be to share with you my testimony that I plan to share with the committee if we make it to committee. When we make it to committee.
Yes,
Thank you.
God.
And it starts out with my name is Chris Garzolia. I'm a husband, a father, and a grandfather. I represent every Texan who has a condition that could be helped with medical cannabis. But more importantly, I represent every Texas parent who still has a chance to save their child. Dr. William O'Shaughnessy was treating epilepsy with cannabis extracts in the U.S. successfully in 1850. 169 years ago, they knew. 120 years before cannabis was deemed to have zero medicinal benefit, they knew. 166 years before my son died from the sudden unexpected death of epilepsy, they knew. Medications did not help him. In fact, every time they changed his medications, his seizures became more frequent and more severe. We had heard of people using cannabis for epilepsy around the country and around the world. But by the time we'd found this out, my son was a 23-year-old man who refused to break the law. So he didn't get that chance. He couldn't move to Colorado or somewhere where he could get access because he was dependent upon others for transportation, because he refused to drive because of his condition. Yet he was a productive member of society. Now I ask him, as a father, how can I hold my son's desire to be a law-abiding citizen against him? I can't. My son passed before the Teacup program began, but he would not have qualified for it anyway. The restrictions imposed both on patients and doctors alike keeps most of the people that it was intended for without vital medicine that they need. And young children are not the only epileptics with intractable epilepsy. Texas population is over 21 million. The American Epilepsy Foundation states that 1 in 26 people, think about that, 1 in 26 people will likely suffer from some form of epilepsy in their lifetime. The AEF also states that roughly 35% of epileptics never gain control of their seizures with conventional medicines. Therefore, they have intractable epilepsy. Excuse me. They go on to state that 1 in 150 of those with intractable epilepsy will likely die from SUDEP, as my son did. Potentially over 5,000 people in the state of Texas alone. And this doesn't even begin to mention the overwhelming evidence of the unlimited number of conditions, diseases, and cancers that cannabis has been proven to be effective in treating. I stopped counting over a year ago at over 3,000 hours I've spent researching cannabis personally. I stopped counting at over 5,000 medical and scientific studies that I've read, hundreds of clinical trials from all over the world, and the literally thousands of people that I have come in contact with and met, had the pleasure of meeting, who have told me their personal stories. The truth is irrefutable. It is time that Texas catches up to 32 other states and the District of Columbia with a comprehensive medical cannabis program that includes all conditions that will benefit and includes full cannabis plant spectrum availability. One that leaves the decisions of what is best used for treatment from the plant to up to doctors and their patients.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
I, for one, will not rest until we have changed this here in Texas as well as at the national level. It really is pretty simple, folks. Something has to change, and now. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I want to give a couple shout outs to some people who have come in tonight. Some people who are special to me, not only personally, but also in this movement. People who've been doing it for a long time. We have in the building the 2018 recipient of the Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana Activist of the Year, Romana Harding. Please stand up and give everybody a wave. This woman does amazing work. Amazing work. We also have in the building I know you hate when I do this, don't you? The founder of Texas Normal. 1973, is that correct?
Yup.
1973, my very dear close personal friend, Mr. Bill Norton. We need to Where's Colt? There's Colt.
That's cold.
You like that? I did that just for you. We have Colt DeMorris in the building. Colt DeMorris drove in from El Paso. He is the founder of El Paso Normal, and he's coming all the way from El Paso to meet with his representatives, and I'm gonna let him tell you why for just a moment. Come on up, Colt.
Oh, come on.
Austin, Texas, how are you guys doing? 4 years, 10 hours, and 500 miles, and El Paso is back in Austin to represent the capital.
Right. Yeah.
Me personally, I'm here for 2 reasons. One, we gotta keep people out of jail.
Yep. Yes.
Number 1, nobody should be in jail for a crime. To elaborate on that, in 2014 when I founded El Paso Normal and kicked it off in January, I met with my representative, Representative Joe Moody, in February. It would be 4 years from this month. And I sat down with him and I gave him a decriminalization bill that Washington, D.C. was pushing through at the time.
Nice.
And I told him, if this is good enough for our nation's capital, it's good enough for Texas.
Yeah.
He told me that he called his staff leaving that meeting and asked them why. Tell me why I should not file this bill. Nobody could tell him. That's when House Bill 81, I think at the time, was filed in 2015. It was 81. That's when House Bill 81 was filed. So I'm here to support Joe Moody and his bill, my representative. That's the first one. Second reason is everybody needs safe access to Medicaid the way they choose.
Yeah.
10 years ago this year, I watched my mother take her last breath
Oh.
from cancer. My activism started then. 3 years ago and 3 years and 5 days ago, I lost my wife to cancer. I watched her starve to death over the period of 2 years because her intestines were cooked by radiation. Something she would have never chosen to take if she had access to cannabis. So, Austin, El Paso's here to represent. El Paso's here to get the job done.
Yes,
You
sir.
can't wait no more. Are you guys with me? Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Colt, thank you very, very much. So tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow should be a lot of fun. Tomorrow should be very, very empowering to anybody who's going to be there, especially if it's your first time. I remember my first lobby day. It was not like tomorrow's going to be. My first lobby day, we had, what, 12 people, Jax? Yeah, 12 people. Tomorrow we expect to have close to 400. Tomorrow's going to be historic, and I'm going to let Jack tell you all about it.
Thank you very much, I'm back. You thought you were rid of me, but I'm back to tell you about how amazing Lobby Day is going to be. Dave is correct. Our first Lobby Day was very small. I think it was actually probably 24 people, and it was tiny, you guys. And we have grown exponentially when we have well over 400 people signing up to attend the event. I hope every single one of them makes it. But as you know, we've got a ton of people in today from other towns that are going to be participating. So I just kind of want to give a little overview of what to expect for the day. Starting at 10 o'clock, you can check in. If you pre-registered, you can come and check in there, get your documents. If you ordered a shirt, we'll have them there for you at check-in. If you did not pre-register, you'll go through a different line and we'll help you find out who your legislators are and get you all situated with your documents. Then at 11 o'clock, we'll start with the training where we're gonna go over our priority legislation, being the civil penalties and the comprehensive medical marijuana program. You're also gonna be getting a postcard. One is gonna be medical cannabis focused, one is gonna be civil penalties focused, and on the back, it's gonna give you the opportunity to tell a little bit about your story, so that when you go to the office, you're gonna actually be able to leave something there in the office for them to look back on later. So that's gonna be really important to prepare. If you did already prepare your one-page testimony about your personal story, feel free to bring 2 or 3 printed copies of those instead. So you can choose to do either one, depending on what you wanna do. And then at noon, we're gonna break out into teams. We're gonna have everybody broken down by Senate district, and you'll break out into teams, work on your worksheet, get all of your documents ready, figure out where you are on the map. We'll provide maps, guys, don't worry. I'm not gonna send you into the pink dome without any maps. That would be chaos. 400 people in pure chaos, and we can't have that. And then you'll all go together as a group to your Senate district. And I remember last time there was a wonderful picture of Senator Kirk Watson in the hallway with a whole bunch of our people. I think it was maybe like almost 30 people. And they had to take the selfie from way far away to get everybody in there. And that was a really great moment. So you'll do that in your Senate offices first, and then your team leader, because there will be a team leader for each Senate district, will help you break out into your smaller groups, help you locate where you need to go on the maps, and then you'll go in your smaller groups together to drop off your postcards to your representative along with the information for them. So we will have a packet for all the legislators that the team leaders will have and will give to the legislators. And you guys will have your personal stories on the postcards or on the pagers that you've printed out. So we went ahead and flyered the Capitol today to remind them for the second time that you guys are going to be there tomorrow in their offices between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So that's when the time frame is going to happen. Excuse me, I'm sorry, there's a little bit. I don't know if you know, but allergies are a thing in Austin. It's kind of a great thing about Austin. And then after that, we're going to all meet up at Schultz's Garden, which is right around the corner. It's got an outdoor area, an indoor area, and we'll all be able to hang out there and kind of relax after the day. Also, if you didn't know, there is a bus coming up from Houston and another bus coming up from DFW. So we're going to have a bunch of people bust in to join us as well so that they can be up at the Capitol on this important day. So that's what we can expect tomorrow. I want to tell you guys about a couple other events that we have going on because there's a lot. I don't know if y'all know, but every other week we go up to the Capitol and we flyer the Capitol with educational information. And we alternate between reducing penalties and medical cannabis and why it is important for Texas. So the next direct action is going to be on the 13th of February. And not only will we be focusing on medical cannabis, but we'll also be promoting our Veteran Lobby Day. Our Veteran Lobby Day is going to be on February 25th. It's going to have the Lobby Day aspect where Representative Donna Howard will join us and she'll talk to the veterans. But it will also have an educational exhibit down in the hearing hallway that all of the legislators will walk by. It's going to be very powerful with our Operation Trapped visuals and a special video that has been made by veterans for this event. So even if you're not a veteran, please stop by and see the event. It is going to be very powerful. Additionally, we're going to be doing another exhibit having to do with medical marijuana in the same hearing hallway, and that'll be from February 18th to the 22nd. So you have a little bit more time to catch that exhibit. It'll be up for a whole week, or 5 days during a business week. And then we'll be back doing another direct action on February 27th regarding civil penalties. So when we do the direct actions, we do them between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. at the Capitol. So if you are off that day and you'd like to join us, we can definitely use your help and your feet to help get this information out. Then save the date. We have not officially announced this yet, but save the date. March 4th is going to be our Patient Lobby Day. That's the day where we're going to be focusing on medical cannabis needs, specifically from patients. So tomorrow's Lobby Day it talks about both civil penalties and medical cannabis, but the patient lobby day will be focused very tightly just on medical cannabis. And then we are so lucky. This is Flamingo Cantina. If you haven't been here before, well, you're welcome for inviting me here tonight because they're awesome. Angela runs this place, and she has been so kind to let us actually host an event here during South by Southwest. So, yes, are you all coming back? I'm glad to hear it. So if you're here for South by Southwest, you may or may not know that there's a whole track about the cannabis business with over 60 different speakers participating. So to kick off that cannabis track, we're actually going to be hosting an event here, and it's going to be on March the 13th from noon to 6 p.m. We're going to have music, vendors, and specialty speakers. I don't know, some of y'all may remember Dwight Clark. He worked for Senator Menendez's office. Yeah, that guy remembers Dwight. And he now works for Vicente Sederberg as a policy analyst. And so we're very fortunate to have him joining us for that event. So I hope you guys will all come back out and support us for that. And then we have our annual veteran benefit, where we have both, you know, golf with the little white ball and golf with the little disc thing that people do. You know, I don't sport, but people do those things. And we put on a benefit about that. And we are going to be hosting it at Willie Nelson's Golf Course on Saturday, March 30th. So if you didn't know, again, now you do. And the last thing I want to touch on, y'all, that's just 1/4 of events that we're doing. We need to stop. So the last thing I want to talk about is on April 2nd, we're going to be having an exhibit in the Capitol having to do with civil penalties and why it's so important to reduce penalties here in Texas and all of the awful collateral consequences people face. So we're doing 1 or 2 different things. Make sure that you check out our website to follow our events. Make sure you check us out online. We are live streaming this event, so if you had some friends who weren't able to make it, you can share this with them later so that they can catch up on what's going on. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us from all over the state of Texas. Give yourself a big round of applause.